Great, lovely. Let me just open the chat box. I think all of you have started messaging. Yeah. Okay. So Malti ma'am has joined from Tamil Nadu. Great. Anjana ma'am from KCM School Palwal. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to the session. We're just waiting for more participants to join in. You can also send in, a reminder to your fellow teachers in your school so that they can all join on time. I see some new participants have come in. Miss Akansha. Ma'am, where have you joined from? Do you want to, type in the chat box which school, which state have you joined from? Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I see new people joining in. Can you use the chat box to type in where have you joined from? You can put in your school name and you can also put in the state you have joined from. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Akansha ma'am, Poonam ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Great. I see a lot of participants joining in. Do you want to use the chat box to type in where are you from? Which state and which school are you joining from? Good afternoon, ma'am. So Akansha ma'am is joined from St. Stephen's, Telangana. Very good. Poonam Rani ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, do you want to put in which school have you joined from and which state? We'll just wait for all participants to join in. Thank you for switching on videos. I hope that more of you can just switch on your video throughout the session. It'll be nice to see you while doing the session. Okay, so we have Sujata ma'am also from KCM School, Haryana. Very nice. Poonam Rani ma'am, which school are you from? All the other participants who joined us just now, do you want to use the chat box to type in where are you from so that I know where have our teachers joined from? Poonam ma'am also from KCM School, Haryana. Sujata ma'am also. Great. So we see a lot of participants from KCM School. That's great. We will just wait for a little more participants to join since the registration number was little higher. Till then, all of you, you can grab a notebook and a pen and a bottle of water and be ready for the session. Put your phone cameras, if you've joined from phone, in a stable space so that you're not disturbed during the session. If you want to put on your headphones or earphones, you can do that also. We can use 5 minutes of, just setting up. Great. Teachers, all of you who are joining in, do use the chat box to type in, where have you joined from, which school, which state. Okay, so there's Deepika ma'am from Green World Excel School. Welcome to the session. Ma'am, do you want to tell me where is the school situated, like which state? Okay, so it is Vinita ma'am. Okay, Vinita ma'am from Green World Excel School. And which state is the school in, ma'am? Great. I see more teachers joining in. Teachers, please use the chat box to type in where are you from, which state are you from. Tamil Nadu, great. Welcome to the session, Vinita ma'am. I see Bhuvana ma'am from the same school. Great. Also Shanmuga Priya ma'am. She's also from same school. Welcome to the session. Good afternoon, Tanveen ma'am. Which school are you from? Again, teachers, do remind your fellow teachers from your same schools to join the session on time. It's 2:07. We're just waiting for, 3 to 4 more minutes to start off the session, and then we'll quickly start off and let the people join in as and when they join in. Great, we have somebody from Andhra Pradesh, Kumar sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon. Kiran ma'am, good afternoon. Great. We also have Nitya ma'am from Greenwell School, same school from Tamil Nadu. Great, welcome. Saraswati ma'am is also there. Tanveen ma'am from KCM School. Preeti ma'am, Gunjan ma'am from Sundar Kids Haryana. Very good. Present. Welcome to the session. Tanuja ma'am from KCM School. Hello, Tanuja ma'am. Great to see you on the session. Okay. Kanaga Manj. A little difficult name to pronounce. Ma'am, which school are you from? Kiran ma'am from Sundar Vatika, Haryana. Barkha ma'am, good afternoon. Hello, Minakshi ma'am. Minakshi ma'am has also joined the session. Ma'am is smiling because I was not pronouncing the name correctly. Barka Chauhan from KCM World School. Great. Great. So, teachers, we have 30 participants. I know it is going to be a little smaller crowd today. Also, I think a lot of teachers who registered might have gone to celebrate Valentine's Day, so they are not on the session. I'm not sure why. So, let's just start off. It'll be a small group. We can do a lot of discussion. That is the best part of smaller group sessions. I hope that you have kept your phone in a place where you can attend the session quietly. It will be great if all of you can also switch on your videos. I would love to also see you while I'm taking the session. It will be nice to put on cameras, and it's okay. You can be in a comfortable place in your comfortable home clothing and switch on the camera. I do not mind. I know all of you might be at home right now, and it is completely okay. So there's no judgment. So please try and switch on your cameras. It'll just be nice to see while I'm presenting. So then I can see your expressions and I can also, see you smiling on the screen. So it'll be nice. So I'll just wait for 2 minutes. Thank you, Pushpanjali ma'am, Bhuvana ma'am, for switching on camera. Great. Waiting for few more teachers to switch on camera so that we can have a very fruitful session. So we started the Catalyst series, and today is the seventh webinar in the series. We have been doing this series since actually December. Um, and today is the seventh webinar that we are doing, on fine motor skills and gross motor skills. Can all of you now quickly use the chat box to tell me how many of you are pre-primary teachers? And can you tell me which class are you teaching in pre-primary? It's okay if you're not a pre-primary teacher and you've still joined the session because you might have children who are in pre-primary and who are in that age group, and you still want to know about it. And it is completely okay. But I want to know how many pre-primary teachers are here. So can you just tell me which grade do you normally teach? It's okay if you teach a higher grade. That's completely okay. Great. So Pushpanjali ma'am teaches fourth grade, which is completely okay. Fourth and fifth, okay. Akansha ma'am teaches higher grades, 5, 6, 8. Nitya ma'am teaches second grade, okay. Sixth and seventh. Waiting for more responses. Meenakshi ma'am teaches 3 to 8. Great. Any more responses? So I think teachers, when you respond very quickly on the chat box, it also helps you be present in the session. It will be nice to actually engage, because then I will know how many of my teachers who have joined are actually pre-primary teachers for foundational year teachers, which means, who are teaching till very young children to grade, say, for example, 1, 2. And the others also are there. Uh, but this information might be a little more crucial for teachers who are actually teaching pre-primary. There could also be some of you who are school leaders, basically, principal, vice principal, or just who have, academic head, which is also completely okay. If you're not teaching any class, you can just mention you are the academic coordinator or something. I will just know that. ठीक है. Shanmugapriya ma'am says grade 1. Great. Any teachers who are actually teaching pre-primary, which is, LKG, UKG, uh, nursery grade, play school. Okay. Vinita ma'am says grade 2. Akansha ma'am used to teach before. No problem, Akansha ma'am. That's okay. That's completely okay. Okay. Can any of you tell me now, do you have children in this age category where, you want to know, you could have your own kids or kids around you in your family, uh, for whom you want to know this information about? So you can just type in kids in case there are kids in the age group where you want to develop fine motor and gross motor skills for those children and you just want to know about it a little more. So can you type in kids if that is, your agenda for joining the call? Poonam ma'am teaches KG2. Great, Poonam ma'am. Just waiting for responses. So in case you are somebody who has joined just to understand how to develop fine motor, gross motor for small children, you might not be teaching in those class, but you might have kids or might have seen kids in your family around you, and you just want to know a little bit more on this topic. So type kids in the chat box if that is the correct explanation. Okay, thank you, Akansha ma'am. Waiting for few more responses because I see there are 37 participants. We haven't received 37 responses. So Arun sir says kids. Okay, great. Okay, so this was just an exercise to understand, who is the audience, from where have you joined, what is the purpose of joining the call, so that we can use this session effectively for all of you. Again, as I said, we have been doing a lot of webinars on early childhood education and pre-primary learning from, since December at YOLO. At YOLO, we also have our complete pre-primary program, which is called Dawn. A lot of you might already been using our Dawn program. Some of you might not be aware about it and you might be using some other books, but you've joined the session because you got an invite. That's completely okay. The session is open to everybody who wants to just understand a little more. At YOLO, in our Dawn program, which is the pre-primary program, we focus a lot on, what is the NEP and the NCF saying and how should be our pre-primary learning effective for our children. Today, we are discussing about the gross motor and fine motor foundations, building strong foundations for our children. Okay, quickly, can I get a thumbs up so that we can just start up the session now? I want a thumbs up from everyone. So I want all teachers to participate and give me a thumbs up so that we can start the session now. Great. Great. Now, let's do the first activity, which is an ice-breaking activity. Let me just share screen. Great. Thank you, teachers, for the participation. Great. I hope my screen is still visible. I am just going to, yes. So we're doing an ice-breaking activity first. Um, there is an activity on the screen, right? And as adults, it might seem a very easy activity to us that we just have to, button our shirts. Basically, we have to wear a shirt and button it. That is something we do on a very normal basis or a day-to-day basis. Um, but how do children look at it? So, can you quickly do a rehearsal of, just acting of how to button a shirt and tell me which parts of your body are involved when you are actually buttoning a shirt. So think of the question very carefully, ma'am, and sir, everybody who has joined. So a very simple activity where I am just wearing a shirt and I am trying to button the buttons on my shirt. Think of which body parts and list down all body parts that are actually being used in this entire activity. Great. Malti ma'am says hand. Akansha ma'am says fingers and hands. Poonam ma'am says finger and eyes. Chest and hands, finger and eyes, hands. Any other body parts that none of you have mentioned yet? Anybody? What are the body parts? Okay, Malti ma'am says brain. Okay, that's also a fair point. Any other external body parts that are actually used for the child, since we are covering the fine motor and the gross motor part, think from that angle. Great. So I think most of your responses, all your responses are actually right. When we are actually buttoning a shirt, or the child, a very young child, say for example, an LKG child, okay, a 4-year-old child is trying to wear and button the shirt. The parts that are actually being used is not just fingers, but also the shoulder movement, also hand-eye coordination, right? And in case the child is looking somewhere else, do you think a 4-year-old will be able to button the shirt properly? No, right? Anybody who says yes. So if a 4-year-old child is looking somewhere else, they will not be able to button the shirt properly, right? Yes. So a very simple activity like this requires multiple parts of the body and is actually total body development, right? Um, and why did we do this activity? So we want to tell you that there are multiple activities that we do normally in the classroom or at home as parents for the children. We do not realize that there is, some form of development in the gross motor, fine motor, or the parts of the body for the children. And maybe we do not put enough attention to it sometimes, or we don't know, what is an ideal way or how much should my child be actually be doing. um, and which is why we did this activity, that all of this is actually connected and children are basically, developing their fingers, their shoulder, their core through all of these activities that they are doing actually at home. So all the mothers who try to rush their children in the morning by buttoning the shirts for them and not letting them try it, you're actually taking away a part of development in their journey. So let's give them time and let them try it on their own, right? So any mothers here or teachers who see that um, they don't let the children do it on their own, you can type yes or no in the chat box. And who are very just keen on doing it very quickly, so you do it on your own, right? So Pushpanjali ma'am says yes. Malti ma'am is very proud. She says my son does it very correctly, which is great to know actually. Great. Okay, so this was a very quick activity that we did. Since it's a small group, I will also be actually, unmuting all of you in between so that we can also share verbally about, how you feel. Uh, Great. So I see now the participant lists has gone up, which means some new people have joined in. So teachers, we've just started with the session. We did an ice breaking activity, and we have just started on. So you'll be able to catch up with us. Don't worry, because everybody else had joined on time. So we just took our time to start off. Great. Okay. Now I think what we want to discuss here is about uh, what exactly is fine motor and gross motor. Very basic development question. Small muscles like your hands and your wrist, for example, this is all fine motor development. Large muscles, your core, your limbs, the shoulder, the core is around your stomach area, and the limbs, which is your, larger part of the legs above the knee, is all gross motor. Great. So I think this is just a slide to be clear about what are we actually going to mean when we say fine motor and gross motor. Quickly, teachers, can you tell me the activities that you do in the classroom on a day-to-day basis? Are they mostly improving on fine motor or mostly improving on gross motor? Very quickly, just type in fine motor or gross motor. Think of all the activities that keep happening in the classroom. You might be doing it or it might just happen. Now think of, what is something that we do most of the time. Okay, Akansha ma'am says fine motor. Okay. Rubbing board is gross motor. Great point, Malti ma'am. Okay, Afsana Banu ma'am says fine motor. So most of the teachers are actually going towards fine motor. I just want to wait for a few more responses. We are 54 of us on the call, so at least I should get 15 responses on the message box. Waiting for more responses. So the question I would just repeat again. Most of the activities that we do in class, do you think it is to improve, it improves the fine motor or it works on the gross motor of the children? And the explanation of both is actually on the screen. So now you can actually think and relate in terms of, how. Okay, great. Okay. So a lot of teachers say that, of course, Malti ma'am says gross motor, but most of the other teachers says that, fine motor is something that is, somehow put a lot of more attention to indirectly or directly or intentionally, non-intentionally. Let's do a quick activity for which I want all of you to switch on your videos. And it will be just a very quick activity. It will be nice if all of you can switch on your videos. It will be just great. 2 minutes. So I think teachers, the essence of the activity is only when all of us are also able to be children and, feel how our children feel in the classroom. That's how we'll actually understand whatever is being done in the session today. Otherwise, this is all something that you can also read up somewhere else. But today we've gathered here to actually discuss more on it. So just a humble request so that you can all put on your videos. Great. So I see that I have failed in getting responses from the teachers on the video. Okay, some of you are trying because I insisted too much. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I want my teachers to do this activity, the shoulder stability simulation. So I know both our arms are out and then we can't type, but can you, you know, um, stretch your arms for 2 minutes and then type hello on the chat box. So let's all stretch our arms. I am stretching my arms as high as possible and let's do it for 2 minutes. It's 14:26 now. We'll keep doing it till 14:28 and let's all try. Otherwise, we won't feel the very light pain that we actually, or the discomfort that we actually feel on our shoulders. So can you all put your hands? I'm sure if even if you've turned off your video, just put on your hands and arms straight out. Okay, great. Do it for a minute at least. I am doing it for a minute on screen. It is 14:26. We will stop at 14:27. Afsana ma'am, दोनों हाथ. I think it will be nice if both hands you do it like this. Afsana ma'am is putting only one hand up. Okay, great. Monica ma'am is on camera, but she's not putting her hand up. I can see you not putting your hand up. Great. Afsana ma'am, great sport. Good sport. Okay. Okay, now everybody who really, really tried it, can you now type in hello in the chat box? Great. Does anybody want to share how they felt? And can we disable the unmute for everyone, Akshaya, so the teachers can actually unmute and share?
Someone.
Great. Anybody who wants to unmute and share can raise their hand. Anybody? Pushpanjali ma'am, do you want to share? How did you feel? So you got shoulder pain, okay? Pushpanjali ma'am also felt some pain. How many of you felt, how many of you want to, say that there is some amount of either pain or I would say slight discomfort because we are adults, we wouldn't feel too much pain. Some of you who might also be doing yoga and everything, you might not feel too much pain. But how many of you actually felt a little slight pain or discomfort on the shoulders? Just type yes in the chat box. And you can also unmute and share. I can allow you to speak also if you want to speak something. So Akansha ma'am says yes. Pushpanjali ma'am is there. Afsana ma'am also pain in hands, yes. Great. Teachers, anybody else who wants to share anything? I'm just reading the responses on the chat box. Akshay, can you see my screen? The webinar, the PPT screen link, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है. Great. So teachers say some pain, and then some of you also say that yes, there is some pain, heavy, uncomfortable, some pain, true. So teachers, I want to tell you that when, very young children, nursery, LKG, even for UKG, some students who have started off late, when they actually, um, do coloring or we give them to color or scribble continuously, when they do not want it for continuously 2 minutes, or say 1 minute, 30 seconds or so, they actually feel this pain in their shoulders, um, and a little bit in their hands and fingers also. But more than fingers here, the pain is, on larger um, body parts, which is the shoulder. So the same pain that we felt by stretching our arms upwards, our young children can experience the same slight pain and discomfort while coloring, because this entire hand part is actually used while we do coloring, or even write, for example, but the coloring part takes, a longer, duration and continuous movement. Writing could be a little slow and fast movement in general. So as a child that uses it will be basically, feeling the same discomfort. Now, how do you feel knowing this? That this is how your children in the classroom actually face, when you give them a paper and tell them that color this is remaining for you, and they have to do it, in hurry, and they don't want to do it. How do you all feel knowing about this in general? Any response is okay. Akansha ma'am feels that. Okay, I think feeling sad is or feeling bad is a normal response. But what do you feel, and how would you now change this in the classroom? What is something that you would try? Great. Just waiting for, other responses in the chat box. And teachers, feel free to just share in general. It could be anything that you are feeling. And even if it is the same thing, so if some of you also now feel it is very sad that children feel this pain and still we ask them to color, you can still share it in the chat box. So just waiting for a few more responses so that I know that all of you are very present in the session. Anybody else wants to say anything else? Gunjan ma'am, Nitya ma'am, Malti ma'am says, yeah, children feel tired. Shweta ma'am, anybody who wants to share anything? Nirmala ma'am is there. Okay, great. I think it will be nice to just be able to, share on the chat box. But it's okay. I will move forward in the interest of time. But yes, thank you, Gunjan ma'am, for responding. And I would want more teachers to respond in the chat box so that I know how you are feeling in the chat box. Great. So Anjana ma'am says, I think we should focus more on learning and understanding more than written work. So I think that's a great point. However, because we know that we also have to get our children ready for writing, um, it has to happen that they are prepared. It's just that we shouldn't, force our children to be able to write with pencil letters very quickly. So there is a process that we will discuss today, and we will see how to develop that before the children are ready for proper writing. So that is the major focus. Great. So um, just connecting to the last um, activity that we tried just now, about raising our hands and everything. A lot of us keep doing. Um, we said fine motor skills are more in the classroom because we put too much pressure on just writing, which is finger movement and wrist movement. um, However, it is important that our children do have stable shoulders and core, so that this is, my shoulder is very stable when I want to use a pencil and write. This has to be strong and this has to be developed. Okay. This cannot be lousy. And for that, I think, the larger parts of the body has to be basically stronger and stable first than, the smaller parts. So there is a little bit of, while everything goes together in the classroom, the gross parts or the gross motor is basically takes over advantage, because that has to be, first the stable thing, and then we move to uh, the fingers. So it is basically proximal to distance or distal, which is, moving from our shoulder towards the finger movement. Great. So it is important that we do a lot of, movement of our shoulders and everything for the children. I want to show you one video that we have uh, for Montessori. Let me just share that on screen. Give me one moment. I'm sorry, I'm just going to click on the video and play the video for all of you. Great. I hope my screen is visible to everybody. Just let me know if you're not able to see it. I am just going to play this video for all of you.
Ruchi, audio is not shared.
The Montessori environment for the toddler is designed to be an aid to life. So what that means is that every object in the classroom, every piece of furniture is designed with the toddler in mind, with their independence.
Ma'am, screen is not visible.
And also
I'll just share.
with their comfort in mind. It's so important that it's a home.
Is the audio?
It's visible now, ma'am.
The Montessori environment for the toddler is designed to be an aid to life. So what that means is that every object in the classroom, every piece of furniture is designed with the toddler in mind, with their independence in mind, and also with their comfort in mind. It's so important that it's a home-like environment, that they can come in and they can feel like it is designed just for them. All of our furniture is toddler sized. It's lightweight, so the children can move it if they want to. And it's also designed in a way that is logical. So logic is kind of the key point in how everything in the Montessori environment is laid out. It should all be laid out, for example, left to right, because that's the way that we read. The things that the children are going to need to use first should be closest to them. The materials for the younger children should be closer to their eye level. So everything is designed with the child's needs in mind.
Great. So teacher, just a follow-up question for all of you after watching the video. Um, you know, how do you think our children are acting in the video? Like, what did you like about the entire setup of the classroom? Something that you really liked. Any one point is fine. Anything is okay. Like you could have liked something about the video. I'm sure there were a lot of things. There were more than two, three things. You could, point out something that you really liked. You could also tell me about how the teacher is actually encouraging that sort of behavior in the classroom. Students doing their work themselves, yes. So independent students, great. Children are doing things on their own, yes, Akansha ma'am. Students are active, yes. Yes, Sujata ma'am. Anything else that we've, focused on? Something very specific. What were the children doing? Do you want to give an example? Regular routine household work, teacher also supporting them instead of stopping them. That's a good point. That's a great point. Anybody else among you also wants to share about, how is the school and the teacher and the entire setup encouraging the students to do so? So one thing is children are independent, we can see in the video. But how is it that the school and the teacher and the entire setup is basically helping the student? What are those key points? And I want more people to answer. So there are so many of us who have not spoken yet. If you want to not type but speak, I can let you unmute. But I want all of you to share because it is important to share what you feel, and there is no wrong answer at all. Because all of us are learning here, teachers, and none of us are, of course, doctors, but all of us are teachers. So we might not know something that is part of the development, but all of us are here to learn. So it is important that we know that no answer is a wrong answer. So teachers are training the children to do the work themselves. Great. Great. Akansha ma'am is a star sharing teacher on the call. Class environment is good where children good feel good and free. Yes, that is a good point. So in general, what we saw and how Akansha ma'am also shared and the other teachers who also shared that the entire setup in general is a very positive setup for our children to be able to share and do what they are basically doing, which is very, very important. A lot of times we do not have this setup in the classroom. And then, the children do not get um, that autonomy or authority in the classroom to do so much. So when I also go for trainings and classroom observations as a part of, the entire year service from YOLO side to schools, and I've been going to schools from a long time now. There are some schools where, teachers would keep crayons and everything, openly in boxes, and one child would be then going and bringing crayons, the other child would go and bring the books, and they would know that this is my job and I have to do my job. So that's a very collaborative classroom. A lot of times it is all locked up in a cupboard because the children would not let the teacher be in peace otherwise. So she has locked it, and the teacher or the helper teacher, assistant teacher would, take it out and, themselves give it to the students in the classroom. How many of you feel that, this is the number two is basically your classroom scenario in general? So you can put in number one or number two, depending on what is your classroom scenario. A collaborative classroom currently or not so collaborative. It's okay if it's not so collaborative. Okay. Some of you say one, some of you say two. Great. Afsana ma'am says two. Okay. So I want everybody to be very open and honest in terms of, sharing how your classroom feels like currently. Is it a very collaborative classroom? Point one. Or not so much because, of XYZ reason that I cannot let the children take over because, these are the rules and this is what will happen. Or this is in general the rule of the school. So I can't do something of my own, which is also okay. That happens with a lot of teachers. Malti ma'am says too, okay. I want more teachers to respond. I want to know everybody's response on this particular question. I want to know how your classroom looks like. Okay. Deepa Lakshmi ma'am says too. So while we are discussing, and we were discussing about, the gross motor and the fine motor, we started off from there. Then we discussed about proximal to distal, two new terms. Might not be new to everybody, but it might be very new to some of you. Thanks, Sharmila ma'am, for sharing. Sharmila ma'am says number two, classroom. So now that we were discussing about the bigger muscles first, it is important in the development of a child that the child must be able to, first develop the core and the shoulders for them to be able to, work with the wrist and the fingers properly, which means to write well with with their fingers with a pencil in general. The children should do a lot of other activities and strengthen that first. So carrying things in the classroom in hand, like giving them a lot of books, because that then enables them to put pressure on the shoulders, um, or boxes from one place to another, because then they also have to grapple with their foot movement properly. Some children do not walk straight in the classroom. Their foot basically gets entangled because they can't see it and they're holding something. Correct? Does this happen, teachers in the classroom? That the younger children hold something because they can't see their legs because they are holding something. So they merge their legs while walking. Yes or no? Does this happen in the class or no? Great. Yes. So, so all of you will agree with me. And the answer to that is not that we don't give them things to do because they would, mess it up. The idea is to help children to practice that. so that the core and the larger muscles are developed. So every small activity that we might think is a very ignorant activity for us, that it's okay, bringing some books from that bench to this bench is a very small activity. Anybody can bring that. But give it to your children in the classroom who needs more attention than others. So some of your children are a little more weaker than the other children. Tell them to do that activity, and that way you are basically utilizing every minute of the classroom, for the children basically. So that is very, very important. uh, Today's entire session is to be able to focus on very small things in the classroom. You cannot do a dedicated activity for everything, ma'am. It is not possible in the class. So what all we can do in the class, apart from just teaching and normal activities, which also helps the children to develop their body movements. We are going to discuss that only today, and that's what we've been discussing. So it is very, very important. And I want that all of you also do make notes, because this is all something that you will forget. It will also be available on YouTube, because we are going live on YouTube. So you can also go and rewatch the sessions, which is very, very important. Just to point out that from our team, Akshaya will keep sending feedback forms in the chat box. We will keep sharing that multiple times till the end of the session. It is important you fill it so that you receive the certificate. Without the feedback form, the certificate would not reach you. So even if you have attended and not filled the feedback form, we will not be able to give you the certificate. So that's something that you keep in mind. But all said and done, we'll keep sharing it multiple times through the session. So don't worry, the session is not ended yet. Let's move to the next part. Okay. Now we talk about the fine motor part, which all of the teachers are, very excited, because teachers' ka favorite part is putting pencils, and we are all famous as teachers to put pencil in the hand of the children, and it seems like we are some torturous people who want our children to write first, even if it is paining. It's not like that. I understand that as teachers, it is a lot of pressure on us, because from parent side, from the school administration side, everybody is constantly asking us about, when will my child be able to write? Uh, and why is my child doing so many things but not writing? And it is very difficult to make everybody understand that, there is a proper developmental journey. Each child will take time. It is not a competition. Some children in nursery grade are able to color within the boundaries. Some are still not at the end of the year. And it's completely okay. And as teachers, we should not and must not push them at this age to do something that they are not ready for. Because eventually in life they have to, do a lot of writing. So it is important that we stick to how the development happens, and we do not pressurize the children. Okay? So can all the teachers type yes in the chat box that you will not pressurize your children either in the classroom or at home to, put pressure on something that they're not ready for as of now? Yes? I want more yeses in the chat box. And it's important that we also, as parents, do not go and do the same thing to our pre-primary teachers. So I might be a parent who goes to my pre-primary school, and I might teach some other subject. So I'm telling my teacher, why is my child not writing? That's not the correct way to do it. The child will eventually write. I think as parent, they can do a lot of activities at home. We'll discuss more activities. Suggest your parents to do those at home so that your child gets the grip, perfectly well, and gets that practice earlier. So that is important. And on the screen, ma'am, you can see how in different age groups, basically, and this is basically scientific in terms of, we've taken average data on approximately what should be the child be able to do in different age groups. So we are saying that in age group 1 and 2, which is till 2 years, they will use a fisted grasp. And then they will use a palmar grasp, which is, an elbow out, this sort of way. Then a static tripod wrist movement. And then finally in 4 to 6 years, finger movement. But teachers, can you all tell me that We actually reached the dynamic tripod very before, I think a little earlier than age 4. Correct or not? So, how many teachers have 3-year-old children in the classroom or 3.5 and they already have started writing using the dynamic tripod? You could also say no, that no, ma'am, I don't have children like that in the classroom. So this is an ideal scenario that I'm putting on the screen right now, that at this particular age, this is how they would be acting. But you could also say yes or no depending on if you agree or not, if this is something that happens in your classroom or not. So any grade 4 or younger children, I'm sorry, 4-year-old or younger children with dynamic tripod? Yes, no, anything is okay. I'm just waiting for the responses so that we can move ahead. Malti ma'am says yes. Gunjan ma'am says yes. Okay. Any other teachers want to say anything? Akansha ma'am, Pawan sir says yes. Great, great. So a lot of our children, before this age group also starts writing, and that's because you've done a lot of activities in the classroom. However, let's focus that it should not happen out of pressure, but should happen very naturally. And it is possible that it happens naturally. It's not like um, a grade age 4 or younger child cannot write properly. They can. However, the activities that are in place before that, which is scribbling, doing a lot of activities so that their shoulders get stronger, should be done. And once they feel no pain and discomfort, then they would be actually ready to write early. But the activities that we do are important. Let's look at the next thing. Okay. Now here we are talking about snipping. Does anybody first want to share what is snipping? And don't give me the dictionary meaning. Like, as a pre-primary teacher, do you know what snipping means? Do you try it in your classroom? Or anybody who's heard the word for the first time, that's also okay. Type first time in the chat box. So I will know you've heard the word in the as first time, which is called also okay. No problem, Pavan sir. That's completely okay. Okay. Akansha ma'am, can you see the screen properly now? Is it better?
Ma'am, actually, there is some network issue, I think. Now
Uh,
it's a bit better, ma'am.
It's better? Okay. Akansha ma'am, it's okay now?
It's the same again. Can you just reshare the screen, ma'am?
I'll just reshare. Wait. Is it better now?
It's okay, ma'am.
Okay. Great. So we are talking about snipping and then lines and then curves and then angles. Can anybody tell me the meaning of snipping first? I hope this is better now and you might be able to see the screen in a better format. Teachers, just let me know in case it is better now.
Ma'am, it's because of the internet. There is a gray patch in the screen. Share screen. Ma'am, you share me this thing, PPT. I will present the screen.
Yeah. Okay. I think teachers, by the time we are just figuring out, how to make sure that this is clearly visible for you. Snipping is the word, basically, SNIPPING. Can you all tell me if you've heard about the word, if you already try it in your classroom? Cutting paper. Yes, Malti ma'am. Thank you so much. How many of you do this as an activity for your children in the classroom? How many of you allow your children to, of course, use not the, of course, using the plastic scissors to cut, but how many of you try this for your children in the classroom? Waiting for responses from the teachers. How many of you let the children do some sort of cutting activities in the classroom? And what are the children usually cutting? Pushpanjali ma'am says folding paper. Ma'am, folding paper is great, but is snipping a part of your classroom activity? And if yes, then I just want to know in terms of, what all things are the children cutting? Pre-KG kids not properly using scissors, okay. Cutting pictures, okay. Anything else that the children are actually snipping in the classroom? Waiting for a few more responses from the teachers. So all the teachers, we have so many participants. Just so that I know that all of you are awake during the session, can you tell me that if your children in the classroom are doing snipping or, which is basically cutting things, so are they doing some sort of, activities in the classroom? And you can say yes or no. And it's okay if you do not engage them into cutting anything, for example, which is also okay. Okay. So as on the screen, ma'am, we see an arrow from left to right, which is snipping lines, curves, and angles. That actually means that this is the order of how our children should be going ahead, which means that by age 2, we want our children that they can snip, which means using a plastic um, or a non-blade uh, scissor, they can actually do some cutting. Uh, let's not give them tough objects at the beginning. So you can use straws. There are straws on the screen as pictures. You can use straws. You can also use Play-Doh. So Play-Doh, do a Play-Doh along line format and let the child cut small pieces of it. Cutting is a very, very complex task, but helps children to, sort of grasp and release while holding and making the wrist movement stronger. So it is a very, very fun exercise for the children, but really does help in, developing the motor skill of the children. So it's very, very important that we do that as an activity for the children. Um, Paper is a little difficult to hold and not so easy to cut in the beginning. So it's important that we give them straws, Play-Doh, thick straws, for example, and later paper. And our children in the beginning would not be able to cut circles and curves. So we have to always start with first is something very distorted, which is, no, we don't calculate on how much they will cut. But later they would go into lines. So let's try and cut them lines, straight lines. Then we try and see if they can cut curves and then angles, which is, complex shapes and, on the paper basically, and corners, which is for age 5 plus. Ma'am, bottle cap, cut a circle is a great point. However, first the child will have to, or you will have to basically give the circle to the child. Using a bottle cap, first drawing a circle and then cutting it is a very difficult task for our pre-primary children. Number two, if they do not use a pencil to draw a circle with the bottle cap first and they directly just put the cap and cut it like this, again going to be very difficult because our children, number one, cannot hold and then coordinate and cut from the other side. So I think that would be a very complex activity, not maybe for a pre-primary children, maybe for somebody 8, 6 plus. For younger children, let's do something very simpler, that you have given them circles on paper or on colored papers and let them cut circles there. However, my child should be able to first cut straight lines and easier things and then cut. Folding paper and letting them cut, ma'am, a great activity. However, folding in itself is an activity. Not all children, without help of an adult, will be able to fold it very correctly, pasting all the corners to the corners. So like how I can fold a paper to complete two equal half, a child of age 3 or 4 will not be able to do that. So they would then be wasting a lot of things. So the ideal thing is that, and why are we making them? So ma'am, let's just think of why are we making them cut circles? Cutting circle is not the outcome that we want. The outcome is to do activities of cutting so that their hand movements get solid, and that can be done for anything. So it's okay if it is a circle, it's okay if it's a square, it's okay if there are just some lines on a plain sheet of paper. The practice is of cutting and or snipping and not taking the circle back home. So I know we would like that a child cuts perfect circle and we can show it to the parents that they have done it. However, that's not the agenda. The agenda is that the child also at home does some straw cutting and everything so that their hand movements get solid. Of course, in adult supervision. So that's the main idea. So that's something that we try. Can you think of some items in the classroom that the children can actually snip? Of course, you can't get a lot of things in the classroom, but currently, whatever items are there in your class, can you think of one item that your children can actually snip or practice snipping? And anything is okay. Don't put paper as an answer. Paper is a very common item. Think creative, think of something that is already there in your classroom and that the children could also use for snipping. Anything is okay. Waiting for responses on the chat box. Okay, chart paper is one. Scale. Again, scale is a measurement of, what to cut. I think what I'm trying to check is, what can the child cut? So, for example, straws is one thing, but you need to have straws in the classroom. Thin cardboard is a good thing if the children have already practiced some of it, some of snipping before. If you just give them a thin cardboard or a thick cardboard, anything like a cardboard which is slightly thicker than normal paper, becomes very difficult for the children to do it. So if my fingers are already not moving so much and I'm a weaker child, then this would be too difficult for me to do. So I would start with something very easier like clay or play-doh in the classroom. Straws if you have in the classroom, if not, that's completely okay. But I was looking at more creative answers, that what else do you have that the child can cut or snip in the classroom? Do you have a woolen yarn ball in the classroom? That is also something, it's very simpler thread. That is something that the child can try, or thread is something that the child can try. Those are things that the child can try snipping. Yes. Great. Let's move to the next part, which is now we are talking about the gross motor, which is beyond the playground. Let's look at the next slide. Now, this is a little bit, this example on the screen is a little bit outside of the classroom. Akshay, can we just change the slide to the next part? Yeah. So now we've moved a little bit beyond the classroom, outside the classroom, basically to to the playground or beyond the playground for that matter. Uh, in the first video, and let's just play the video again a little bit. The child basically walks and then, catches the ball and puts it to the chest. Let's look at the next video. This is 4 years, and they are basically also kicking slightly and then catching with the arms. And this is 5 year, able to basically throw, catch with one hand and also hold it properly. Okay. So now this is, a slight transition from 3 years to 4 years to 5 years. What is important that we understand that, what is the toughest to do? So teachers, what do you think is harder or which is more tougher? Catching a ball, a beach ball, or a small tennis ball? So this is a beach ball on the screen that you can see, which is a big ball. So catching a bigger ball is tougher, or catching a smaller tennis ball is tougher? Which is tougher or more difficult? So all of us agree that the smaller one is difficult to catch. Yes. So smaller one is difficult to catch because it needs more refined tracking. And the bigger one is, because it is larger in size, it is less refined tracking, and slightly easier than the smaller ball. So which is very, very true. So same for our children in the playground also. It is not just a play activity when you take them out and they are playing on their own. Again, revisiting the same point that we had earlier, that every activity or small thing that the child does in the classroom is building their fine motor and gross motor. So very, very important that we utilize, I mean, a good teacher would be able to do a lot of activities for the development, but the superstar teacher that we have would be able to utilize every minute of the classroom to develop this for the children. Hand-eye coordination, yes, ma'am. Of course, it has to be there. So gross motor skills are not recess or not, playground activities that, let them play and they will learn it. It is important that we are measuring if our children are able to, for example, kick with one leg, which that requires a lot of core strength. So if you stand and try kicking with one leg, which means one leg has to be stable, and then you try and kick with the other leg, it takes a lot of core strength for the younger child to be able to stand on one leg and use the other leg to the other direction. So it might seem very simple, but does not come naturally for all our children. So it is important that we see that if our children are able to just catch or kick, or are able to catch and kick both, and that's how is the progression. And this is how our children will be able to then develop stronger, larger muscles, which is, shoulders, core, and limbs. And that will eventually help them to maintain better hand-eye coordination and use of fingers and legs and toenails, not nails, toes in general, to be able to walk properly. Okay. So these are all activities which are important for a child's development. I'm just waiting here for some time. Any thoughts in your mind that you want to share? And it could be anything. Mixing dough is also a great thing for, the shoulder one, ma'am. However, the lower part of the body also is utilized, and actually the whole body is utilized only when we move outside the classroom. So that's why playing for children and playing good activities where the entire thing is developed is also very, very important. Also, now a lot of schools have started doing yoga and also a little bit of exercise in the morning, which is a great activity for building gross motor skills, right? That we do hands up, hands down, and do a little movement. We do yoga, we do breath practice. So those are also good activities for gross motor. It's just that uh, these kind of examples now will help us to be more attentive and more present when we are looking at our children. We will be able to now relate it and we'll be able to think in that manner. So that's very, very important. Great. Now let's look at some of the activities in the next slide. Now, these are activities that you can basically try in your classroom. Very quick classroom hacks. This can also be done at home, that you can suggest your parents if some child uh, needs some time to do. And Akshay, let's just show all of them on the screen. To develop the shoulder, teachers, I'll go through it very quickly. The first one, vertical surfaces shoulder builder. Children, when they write on the table, they use certain part of fingers and hands. And if you think that is not happening very well and the core is not developed, let them put the paper with one hand on the wall and then do it like this or scribble like this. It puts more pressure on your shoulder. It's almost like an exercise. You try doing it, you will feel the burn here. The same would our children, and that would actually help them to build the shoulder core. Okay, so that's something that you can try. So let's not only use the flat vertical surfaces, which is, table, teacher table, benches, but also let them use, the wall, or the window or anything that is vertical in general. Broken crayons. Let's keep all our smaller broken crayons with us, 1 inch longer crayons. Let's not throw them away in the classroom. It actually pushes the child to go to the tripod stand, the dynamics tripod that we were talking about, which means if the child has a big crayon, the child would try to hold it like a fist in general or together. But if the crayon is small itself, the child is now forced to use the 3-finger grip, to use the colors on the paper or on whatever platform. So naturally pushes them to, try the fisted grasp, basically, the 3-finger grasp. So it helps them to build muscle for writing in general. So it is very, very good thing that you can try in the classroom. The helper hand, a lot of children you will see start coloring on the paper and the paper then tears apart. It could be inside the book or a single paper, right? I think we've all felt it in the classroom that the child starts coloring or with sketch pen or with crayon and the paper basically tears off. So it's important that we teach them the helper hand, that the other hand, which is not my dominant hand, mostly happens to be the left hand. For some children could also be the right hand because they are lefties. So use the left hand to basically put on the paper so that it gives them the hold, and then use the other dominant hand to color or write. So that's something that we have to teach for better coordination. I'm sure this is something that's a very common thing that already happens in most classrooms. In case it does not, let's make sure that we keep reiterating this to the children. Great. So Deepa Lakshmi ma'am says she's already doing these activities, which are great. The fourth one, I'm so sorry. The fourth one is the tweezer and tongs, which is, you can see the tweezer and the tongs in the screen basically. It's a basically tool that will help you to, open and close between your thumb and your index finger and pick up things. Now that basically helps to move your hand strength and progress in the classroom. So when the child gets bored from the other activities, this is something that you can also try in the classroom. Also try the tweezers and the tongs are not sharp, so that the child is able to use it for activity purpose and not get hurt in general in the classroom. Great. So teachers, can you all give me a thumbs up, quick thumbs up, if you want to use these activities in the classroom, if not already been doing? Can you tell me which one activity of these would you try in the classroom? It could be anything. Afsana ma'am says no. Afsana ma'am, so I'm asking if you would want to do some of this in the classroom. Would you want to do any one of this in the classroom? Great. So Akansha ma'am says all four. Malti ma'am says fourth point is interesting. Okay. Great. Just waiting for a few more responses before we move ahead. Afsana ma'am, do you want to try any one of this? I think so. That's what my question was. I know you're not using it already, but would you try any one of this in the classroom? Deepa Lakshmi ma'am says fourth one. Great point. Some of the teachers are giving me thumbs up also. Great. Okay. So teachers, I hope you've made notes about these activities. Let's go to the next slide. So the next slide has an activity. Now I know a lot of you again will not switch on camera and not do this activity, which is okay if you don't switch on camera, but you have to do this activity. Akshay, the previous slide, the zoo animal slide. Yeah, correct. So teachers, I want all of you to do the flamingo stand. Okay. So it's okay if you're not switching on camera. Stand up, put your one leg up, and then say type I am flamingo in the chat box. Type I am flamingo in the chat box while putting one leg up. So you have to stand, type I am flamingo in the chat box. Make sure your one leg is up like the flamingo. Try to balance one leg. I know it's going to be difficult for some of you. Some of you might not be trying since I can't see you, but that's not fair. I want a lot of you to try, okay? And then type I am a flamingo on the chat box. I don't see any type on the chat box. Akansha ma'am tried. She also tried to put in a flamingo there, but I want more teachers to try. So type I am a flamingo in the chat box, being in one leg. Great. So great. So the animal walk is a activity that you can try between transitions in the classroom. What do we mean by transition? So for example, all my children are sitting in a circle on the ground, basically on the floor or the carpet or the mat or the rug. And now I want them to go to their benches or the chairs back. So instead of telling them, okay, now stand up and go, I would ask them to use the animal walk. So the children would use any particular animal, you can teach them two or three, and they would use one of those animal style to go back to their place. It just helps them to wake up the muscles, which was, sitting idle for a long time. So if say the child has to put one leg up and, do a hop and reach their chair, it would take them some muscles engaging in that particular activity. So just a good activity in terms of, transitioning in the classroom. So just for fun, for 2 minutes, you can try this animal walk in the classroom. Akshay, let's move to the other slide. Animal walk one. Yeah. Yeah. And teachers, you can use any of the animal that you can teach them. Don't teach them too many, teach them maybe one or two or three. Great. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. This is another activity. So teachers, try and, crush a paper into your palm with one hand and then open and flatten it out using your fingers. When you do this activity, and we could have done this activity, it's just that we are, in the interest of time, I'm just not letting you do the activity. Also, none of you have put on your videos, so I don't know if you're doing the activity. So I'm just telling you that, just try this activity on your own. And I want to know that which do you think is the harder thing to do? Is the crushing part the harder thing to do, or the flattening part the harder thing to do? Great. So I think some of my teachers have already started responding. So the flattening part is definitely harder thing to do because that involves the fingers. And because the scrunching thing is the entire palm, it becomes slightly easier to do that. Okay. Um, which is exactly what we need to understand, that anything to do with the fingers, is a little more difficult than to do with the palm, which is also meaning that when our children hold fists like this for pencil and crayons, it comes very easily to them than holding with three fingers a pencil or a color or a pen. And which is why we need to understand that something that is, of course, easier will come very easily to them. And the harder part is the other part. So let's just be mindful of, how it happens for our children. Akshay, let's go to the next slide. We'll just skip we'll skip this slide and go to the next one. Great. So I think teachers, you don't have to do um, a specific gross motor, fine motor development period in your day. Okay. You just need an environment where, these motor skills are developed. So every time a child uses a spray bottle in the classroom, for example, you might have plants around you, and one child does the spraying of water to them. They will use the exact same muscles that they use also to write with pencil. And they are enjoying this activity, so that's why they are building muscle for it. So these are very small things that you can do in your classroom to make sure children are ready and strong enough and the muscles are developed for them to write with pencil in general. So these are all things that we, tried today. Tick tick pen is a good thing. Great. Any other examples of everyday objects for the motor development teachers that you want to put on? And because we are 8 minutes away to the closing, Akshay is also going to put the feedback form on the chat box. And this was the last slide anyway. But I want to hear also what are the everyday objects that you can use. So let's just, take some time to fill the feedback form to get the certificate, because all of you stayed throughout the session, which is great. So you should receive a certificate for the same. And please fill in the feedback form. Do not leave without filling the feedback form. And thank you so much for joining. But let the discussion keep continuing until the session ends. So teachers, what are some everyday things that you would now want to change in your environment in the classroom so that it becomes easier for the children to, or it caters to fine motor, gross motor development in the classroom. So I want you to think and answer one or two activities that you can do now in the classroom. And it could be anything. Akshay, can we also open, unmute button for everybody so that anybody can unmute themselves when they want?
It's allowed. They
It's
can unmute.
allowed? Okay. So teachers, you can also unmute and share if you want to. And it will be great if you can also share with me. I think we'll also end YouTube live in 5 minutes because we are almost at the end of the session. So all those people who were a part of the YouTube joined from there, thank you so much for joining. This will also stay as a recorded session on YouTube. So you can also come and rewatch it if you have not liked. And if you want some of your fellow teachers to also see it, you can go and share them from the channel. So that will also be great. But let the discussion keep